for the touch of your lips, dear, but much more for the touch of your whips, dear. You can raise welts like nobody else as we dance to the masochism tango. Say our love is a flame, not an ember. Say it's me that you want to.
Welcome everybody to this week's episode of the A-Slut podcast. That's advice, sex, love, understanding, and trust. The A-Slut podcast. It's also an anti-slut shaming podcast. So we talk about sex, we talk about relationships, we talk about a lot of different things really. We talk about kink, we talk about polyamory, we talk about swinging, all sorts. But today's a bit of a different one. Today we have a serious conversation. It is with Ben Atkinson, also known as Ben Diggy, who was a New Zealander of the Year nominee through his work with Fill the Lunchbox it was at the time. He's now with Eat My Lunch doing a similar sort of thing, which was a buy one lunch and you're gifting 2 lunches to school children in need. Just why I got on that. But we're not talking to him about that. We're talking to him about consent. And we're going to go quite in depth about consent as well, because it's a serious issue that doesn't get talked about quite enough, I don't think. So, we do it. We talk the ins and outs of it, what it actually is, what constitutes sexual assault, among other things. And the reason that we're talking about this is that we had somebody who's been a part of our life at some point or other, a lot closer to Ben than he was to me, but that doesn't really matter as far as I'm concerned. The fact of the matter is that this person was sexually assaulting women, and Ben held his hands up and said, look, I let it happen. My inaction enabled his action. And he held his hands up hot and said, look, yeah, that's not on, and let's try and change this now. So we talk a lot about that as well. I know I'm a little bit more somber than usual today, because this was a very, very deep talk, and I've had to obviously listen to it again, and it brings up some pretty crazy feelings, to be honest. So yeah, just a reminder to everybody as well that you can contact us on the socials. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of them are the same handle, at the A-Slut Podcast, or you can email through to me at theaslutpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, anything that you'd like to know, if you're having any issues, if you've, especially around consent after this episode, I'd love to hear from you about what you think of this episode. Like I said, I think it's quite an important episode, quite an important topic for us to talk about. So, without any further delay, we will get on to my interview with Ben Atkinson, and we will talk a lot about consent. I hope you enjoy this one. Like I said, it's a little bit more serious than usual, but definitely a necessary one. Enjoy.
I'm sitting in the club. I feel it's not hot enough until you walk in, it's like, oh my god. Then again, I don't believe in God, I believe in you, and that's the truth. I wanna get close to you and get all up inside your space.
Whoa there, what are you doing? You don't even know this woman, she's a fine young thing. She don't need grooming, she's a human being. She's got a brain and remembers everything you say, which reminds me, hi, sorry to talk about you. Anyway, Jab, we got things to do. Women? No, that's what I'm trying to say. Let's let this out to the right extent.
This guy wants you, but only with your consent.
If you've got the time to make those kind of moves, then make it right. What have you got to lose?
Let's lay things down, clear and stable.
Welcome, Ben, to the podcast. Thanks for being on here. It's good to speak to you. Now, a lot of people in New Zealand are going to know who you are. A lot of people overseas who listen to this probably won't. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you've come from, what you've done, what your background is, all that sort of stuff.
Sure. My name's Ben Atkinson. I'm originally from Nelson, New Zealand, but I've been based in Christchurch now for 14 odd years. I'm what is called a social entrepreneur. I was the founding director of Build a Lunchbox, which was a social enterprise. The main purpose of getting lunches to Kiwi kids who typically go to school without them. We operated a buy one get two model. So for every lunch we sold in the public, we would then donate two to Kiwi kids that go without. We operated out of a live-in drug and alcohol rehab centre here in Christchurch. It was primarily for men who had just come out of prison. So it was a pretty insane experience to be working day to day with guys who had just come out of jail. Big dudes, smuggle mob tattoos on their hands, kind of coaching them nicely how to make a honey mustard dressing.
Sort of a wee bit different.
But yeah, I guess that's my vibe. My personal purpose is helping people help people. So I kind of base every decision I make in my life around how I'm going to engage communities and achieve social good by getting people involved. So I do a lot of things. I get into a lot of trouble, whether it's protesting hard thoughts of the death of my friend, whether it's getting a result from the Canterbury Police within 48 hours regarding how they were posting mugshots on their page and facilitating bullying by the New Zealand Police, which is terrible. And we managed to get a result in 48 hours by kind of getting in touch with the media and strong-arming them into changing their whole social media policy. Which is brilliant. So I pretty much just like to get out there in the community and really just make a difference by getting people involved.
Which is fantastic, really. And let's not skip over what I think is kind of a big deal. I know you don't like to pump yourself up a lot. It's about others, but you have been a New Zealander of the Year award, was it? Nominee, which is awesome, because there were, how many nominees were there?
I don't know.
It couldn't have been too many, but to make that elite group out of the 4 million people that are in the country, or whatever it is, that's a big deal, and that's really impressive as well.
Yeah, pretty humbling experience. It was a really nice thing to go to.
Yeah, sure.
Lots of free wine.
You never say no to free wine. But you're here today because we're going to have a serious talk. It's going to be a wee bit different to some of the other podcasts that have been here. We're going to talk a little bit more. It's been a subject that ebbs and flows throughout the episodes of this podcast, but we're going to really nail it down and talk in depth about it today. And we're going to talk about consent, aren't we?
Yeah.
Now, the reason that we're going to talk about consent is that there's been someone who's been a part of our lives at some point, who has come under a bit of scrutiny for their actions towards women and the way that they've treated women, what they've done to women, that sort of thing. So, first of all, do you want to start a little bit about what's happened in that scenario? We're not going to name names because this person, we don't want that to be screened anywhere. But what are some of the things that occurred with this person that you know of?
Well, I think the first thing to say, and it's really important, is that I'm no expert. I'm not an expert on consent. I have no background in this. But I'm a person who is driven by action. When I see something that rocks me off, I feel like I need to do something about it. And what really bothers me and kind of got me into action eventually was my inaction. For an action-minded person, that really bothers me. For years, I was best friends with somebody who did horrible things, and it didn't start out really bad. I guess it just got progressively worse. But the thing is that I was part of the crowd justification. I fell for the charming attitudes. I let it happen, and I didn't say, "Hey, bro, that's not really cool. You shouldn't do that." Early enough.
Which can be hard to do with somebody who's a close friend, right?
It is very difficult to kind of make that call and that's something that I kind of want to work towards changing. But
Yeah.
I guess, the guilt I live with every day around my inaction is crippling. I feel like a bad person because I didn't say stop. I didn't tell this person when they told me their stories. I didn't say, hey, look, man, that's actually not really cool. And the stories vary wildly. One, for instance, my friend went home with a girl from town.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure who she is, and he tried to make sexual advances on her. She was not interested.
Yeah, she rebuffed.
In his words, she didn't want to put out. And then when she fell asleep, he decided to, I guess through a sense of entitlement, to stand over top of her and masturbate until he ejaculated all over her. And then he proceeded to just get dressed.
Now, there's some people in this world that will think that that's not rape, or it's not sexual assault because you haven't physically touched a person. But fuck, if she doesn't want it, she's obviously said no at this point. She doesn't want any part of anything sexual at all. To do that is violating someone physically because, you've got your ejaculate all over them, and mentally as well. Because you'll wake up, you'll have
I can't even
all that
imagine.
happening. It'd be horrible.
Legally speaking, it's not rape.
Mm-hmm.
I think the legal term would be indecent assault.
Yeah.
But
it's still of that sexual nature.
It is.
And she hasn't said, hey, can you spray your ejaculate all over me?
Yes, and even if she did say that, but then went to sleep, then it's still not okay at that point.
No,
if someone's
absolutely.
asleep, that should just clearly be a no-no.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
And it's a rape-like behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It is a behavior that is going to, I don't like to use the slippery slope argument, I find it's a logical fallacy, but in a way that is kind of knocking on the door of some very, very terrible behaviors.
Absolutely. If you get away with one thing, you want to see how much you can get away with after that.
Yeah. And I was told this story as this man's friend, and I didn't laugh, I didn't egg him on, but I certainly didn't go, that's not okay.
Yeah. That's fucking wrong, man.
And I can't even tell you why I did it. Like, was I afraid of hurting him or losing a friendship? Was I afraid of
even what your other friends might think of you standing up in this situation?
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
And I don't even know exactly what particular thing stopped me from doing it. But the thing is that I didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why now, years later, I'm trying to find my own passage to rectify that.
Yeah.
And to help educate people on how they can and why they should speak up.
Yeah.
Because these actions are just, they're not okay.
No, not in any stretch. And that's part of the reason I started this podcast as well, so that discussions like this can happen. Because I haven't told you, but I've told some of the listeners. I started this so I could get into schools and talk about consent in schools to young men, especially young men. Because we have all of this big thing about telling girls how not to be raped, what actions they can take to seem less appealing to rape and all of this sort of stuff. Which for me is the completely wrong way to go about it.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be teaching avoidance, they should be teaching these boys not to do it.
That's a band-aid solution.
Yeah.
It's coming along and going, well, and look, we live for a very liberal country. We're fucking prudes.
Yeah.
And we don't like anything that's of any kind of sexual nature where we're too scared to address it publicly.
Yeah.
Whether
there's a lot of below ground shit that goes in New Zealand.
Like sex positive, anything kink based, we're kind of like, no, let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
And that's half the problem. Because
exactly.
As soon as you look at this issue, especially with how we're teaching women to be better prepared against being raped, is because that seems like the easy solution, right?
Yeah.
Because you can go, oh, well, hey, actually,
rather
just
than
dress a little
change
more
the human psyche.
Don't walk alone in this area at this time of night. Don't wear that perfume. Don't look at somebody and smile.
Yeah.
Don't drink alcohol in public.
Yeah.
Like all these things.
Don't wear those short skirts.
It's an easier thing for society to just go, oh, hey, you woman, don't do this.
Yeah.
But to say to men, hey, look, we need to actually really look at the way we're raising you. We need to look at how we're teaching you in school. We need to look at these really tough conversations.
Yeah.
And change that at a fundamental level.
Yeah.
That's too hard for a conservative New Zealand.
It's gone in the too hard basket quite a bit, hasn't it?
But the problem is that it's fucking not hard.
No.
If you just want to actually do it.
Yeah.
But to get it through the bureaucratic government and through red tape and everything, it's challenging.
Yeah, it is.
So,
and you can even think of how parents react to that sort of thing being spoken about in school. That's the other side of that as well. Especially if you've got your 40, 50-year-old right-wing-ish sort of person who doesn't want their children to be talked to about this sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, half of them don't want their kids learning about sex at school.
Yeah, let alone
sex with consent and sexual assault and how to navigate that field.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's someone I respect who, when I kind of came forward and said that I wanted to start a collective of people that would teach about healthy relationships and teach about consent, but with the main focus of actually kind of teaching young men how to call out their peers for inappropriate behavior.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that a little later as well, because I think that's hugely important.
So when I kind of came forward with that, someone was like, well, no, you're actually just teaching young men that people think they're all rapists. And it's not about that.
No, it's not. It's not about individuality in any sense.
It's about peer responsibility and community.
Fantastic way to put it.
And those things, like, as soon as you're not having those discussions, that's when bad things happen and people don't know how to address them.
Exactly.
But as soon as we have the discussion, then when things are noticed, people can actually talk about it comfortably because it's been passed on the skills of how to do so.
Well, you even think about how often victim blaming is a thing. And that stops people from coming forward on that side of things as well, because they feel like, people say, oh, you shouldn't have worn that skirt. That's why you got raped, or that's why you got whatever. And that makes people not want to come forward because they're not being able to be honest with what's happening and go, no, this wasn't me. This was this person who's done this. It has nothing to do with what I was wearing. If I'd been wearing, long pants with jeans, it still would have happened. Because this person still made that decision to go and do it. Like you. And the more they get knocked back, the less they're going to talk, the more it happens because it's not being talked about. And that's fucking terrifying in and of its own.
And I can't even imagine how punishing it must be for somebody to deal with.
Okay.
Privileged enough to be just your average Joe, white dude in little old New Zealand and not have ever had any of these things happen to me. I know people it's happened to, and intense.
It's
just the level of how much that fucks up your life is incredible. Meanwhile, the perpetrators skip around happy Joe lucky, everybody loves them,
And that's another important point as well. And I've talked about it a few episodes ago on here. It's not just the immediate physical damage. It's not even, the next 6 months. The psychological damage you can get from something like this can go on for the rest of your life sometimes.
And it's hard. It's near impossible to quantify physical versus mental trauma. But just from seeing people go through it, the mental trauma is ongoing.
Yeah.
And the mention of someone's name
can trigger.
Just hearing people talk about how cool that person is. All these things are very troubling because it kind of devalues the victim and what they've been through, and they start questioning themselves like, was what I went through really that bad if everybody else admires this person? Is what I went through really real? And it's we always say in New Zealand, like, don't let the court of public opinion judge somebody. Leave it to the judicial system. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the judicial system. Yeah. I think that
I think we've got a
sense of the time it's very reliable.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to rape and sexual assault, not so much. It's very difficult to prove rape. unless you report it immediately.
Yeah.
Even then, it's still
And most people don't.
Yeah, you need an overwhelming amount of evidence to get any kind of conviction. So a lot of these rapists, they're just in our communities, and nobody really knows or cares, and they get away with it because it's actually an incredibly difficult crime to punish someone.
Yeah.
When we say, like, let's leave it to the court, sometimes you have to trust your personal judgment and observe somebody and observe their behaviors and weigh that upon your own moral compass and make your decisions then.
Yeah, I feel as though you can't always rely on courts.
No. And I mean,
if it's something like this, I'd go the personal route as well. That's who I am.
And it doesn't mean that you have to admonish this person or call them names, or definitely don't call them out on social media, but it just means that you know the people that you want to associate with and the people that you don't want to associate with, and how you're going to manage that.
Yeah, for sure. We'll go back a wee bit here, because you talked about your sort of the fact that your inaction enabled the continuation of their actions. How and when did you realise that you were doing this and that you needed to change it, and then made that change?
I think there were a couple things. I think it was the continued stories. And there's more than one. And they ranged from just kind of gross sexual adventures, like I forced her to have anal even though she didn't want to, through to, I picked up a girl just after she had lunch with her boyfriend and I made her suck my dick in the back of my van, through to driving past high schools and beeping at 14-year-old girls, through to what I mentioned before, and other more intense stories. And they all started to weigh upon me. And I remember sitting with two of my friends, and one of them said he's one wrong girl away from a rape charge. And that started me thinking. And then he done something to a good friend of mine. Also, to another friend, just put his penis in her mouth when she was asleep. She handled it very well. But that was some of that. And one of my best friends, who's a very strong feminist and loved a bit, she's an amazingly strong person. She just looked at me in the eyes once, and she's always been really fucking frank with me. And I love that about her.
Which is great.
If I'm being a fucking dickhead, she'll call me out. Yeah, it's cool because I love being that.
Same.
And she looked at me in the eyes and said, "Why the fuck are you friends with this guy? Honestly."
Yeah.
And I kind of looked at her dumbfounded, and then was like, well, he's really generous. He's always been very supportive of me. When I went through the toughest period of my life, he was the one person who was there. And she was like, so fucking what? Like, look at what he's doing. Like, do you think that's cool? Do you back that? Like, if someone came up to you and said, "Mum did this to me," sorry.
We'll cut that.
And she said, like, if someone came up to you and said, "This guy did something to me," how would you feel about that? And I was like, well, I don't really know. Like, surely I'm a good person, so I will support that action. And I just kind of internalized it for a day. And I was like, wow, this guy's a sociopath and a rapist. Yeah. And
no matter our history,
the cut of our friendship literally was a text message from me to him saying those exact words. Yeah. And that's where I cut it. And I was just like, I don't know why I let this go on so long. Yeah. I also knew he's a really adept. He's very adept at arguing.
He's a very good manipulator.
And he's very charming.
Yeah.
And he used to always argue with us silly things like, if you were stuck on a desert island with your 9-year-old daughter and the world was ending, it would be your fatherly and paternal duty to have sex with her because love is everything, and like you must give her that, you couldn't deny her of that. And he would argue for hours against that. Yeah. And he would argue it and then be like, oh, it's just devil's advocate, So I know he's very good at arguing. Yeah. So I didn't want to face that at the time. So I just kind of cut my friendship. Yeah. Which is weird. Dudes don't really tend to do that a lot. No. But I cut my friendship there and we didn't talk for a very long time.
And then there was a point in here that you actively, well, I wouldn't say actively, but you started calling him out on his shit as well in person, like face to face, right?
Yeah. At a party, he approached me and thought we were all buddy, and I kind of told him why I didn't want to have anything to do with him then.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, these girls say you love me, they think I'm a man. Like, I don't see what the problem is.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I mean, they don't. And he said, well, how can I make this up to you? Like, how can we be friends again? Which is very interesting. Straight away, that's just denying any right or virtue to
Yeah.
it.
He hasn't sat there and gone, yeah, I did do this.
Yeah,
how can we step over?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, right. It was about you.
Yeah, he's gone, well, why won't you be my friend?
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, I'll be your friend. You apologize to every single one,
Mm-hmm.
every single girl that you've ever done something wrong to. If you apologize to them, then I'll consider you being your friend.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be a real apology.
It can't be this fake.
From the heart and an actual awareness of what you've done wrong.
Exactly.
Understanding that.
Yeah, it's the
sometimes I
awareness.
question whether he does understand it. And then for those victims as well to understand and accept that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not my place to accept an apology.
No, exactly. So that's a pretty hefty thing to. Then what was his reaction to that? I'm sort of curious to that. Was it just sort of brushed off, I imagine?
Yeah, he definitely brushed it off.
Yeah.
And just kind of assumed that I was making a deal over nothing.
Mm-hmm. Which is scary in and of itself. That he thought it was just nothing.
He began to think that I was leading in his words, a hate campaign against him.
Right.
Which is hilarious in a way, because this whole modern thing of haters, H8 Z, kind of bullshit crap. It's a throwaway for whenever someone calls you out on the bullshit.
Yeah.
You can go, oh, you're just a hater, you're jealous of me. Therefore, everything you've said is not credible.
Yeah.
And it's an actual joke, because people use that in very serious situations like this one. I think this is a really intense issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's caused me a lot of personal strikes because one of my friends had a personal strike. It's caused rifts in relationships between our friend group, and for him to brush it off as you're just being a hater is the total dismissal.
It's actually kind of disgusting that this person doesn't even realise. He just thinks it's all laughs and jokes and the old adage of boys will be boys. Yeah.
We're just being cheeky.
I actually feel kind of physically ill at this point, and probably the people listening as well. And I'm not going to apologise for having this talk either. If people are feeling queasy or are uncomfortable with this subject matter, that's what we're trying to change, I guess, is having people not have to feel queasy or uncomfortable talking about this subject matter, about what's happened to people and things that can be done. We'll move on a little bit from the things that he's done, because I don't want to sensationalise it or anything like that. So my next question is, what does consent mean to you? I guess.
That's a really good question.
Because it's a difficult one once you actually really think about what does consent mean to me. And I'll ask you the follow-up question to this at the same time, is how does one show consent?
Like I said at the start, I'm not an expert.
Yeah, of
so
course.
Take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm just a dude sitting here kind of giving my opinions on how I would look at this.
Yeah, and that's all.
I think one of the biggest things is being self-aware and being able to understand social cues.
Mm-hmm.
You see it every day. Things posted, screenshots posted online of dudes having shitty conversations with women and not knowing how to foster any kind of healthy relationship.
Yeah, Tinder hasn't helped with that either, has it?
And it's essentially like, hey babe, what are you doing? Like saying, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Saying, hey, I was thinking you should come over to my house and suck my dick. Hey, look, I'm actually not really keen on that. Well, fuck you, you slut.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, and I hate to target men, but a lot of men are absolutely fucking terrible at reading social cues.
Oh, shit, yes.
Not only in text form, but in real life as well.
In face-to-face form as well.
If a girl looks and smiles at you, it doesn't mean she wants to fucking chuck down on you, you know? Like,
So true. And look, I was really bad at this as well when I was growing up. And it's only been the last sort of 2 years or so that I've sort of sat there and went, you know what? I'm not the fucking be-all end-all.
yeah.
People can just be friendly.
Yeah.
And I've realised these last 2 years is probably the first time in my life that I've actually had female friends, genuine friends, because I haven't sat there and gone, geez, I could, you know, maybe something can happen here.
You're starting to learn and understand about different relationships. And
exactly. And I really wish that I'd learned this.
friends are way better than just girlfriend after girlfriend.
Shit, yeah. It's longer lasting.
Friends are way.
And I sit here now at 28 and you're 31, 32. And I sit here and I go, why wasn't I learning this earlier? These sorts of things.
It's about communication, right?
Yeah.
And
man.
that's when you ask me to define consent, there's one word, and it's communication.
Yeah.
There's verbal communication, there's non-verbal. I think both speak equally as loud as one another.
I agree.
A girl may be too afraid to say no, but you can definitely tell if one is saying no. These are difficult things to teach.
Yeah.
But I think teaching young people that there are methods to understand how a woman's feeling. But consent should be a mutual agreement on what you're going to undertake in. For that first time, checking that they're okay. And I think they should go both ways. Making sure both parties, male on male, male on female, female on female, whatever, and everything in between. I think just making sure that both parties are okay. Yeah. And there's little cues, you know.
Yeah. But one of the ones that I talk about quite a bit is enthusiastic consent versus coerced consent. Like, for example, I very rarely have drunken sex anymore just because it's too much of grey area for me. But the other one that comes across as quite a bit, obviously, because I'm in the Kingston as we get as well, is you can do it if you want, or I don't mind if you do it. To me, that's not consent. Then that's my personal opinion. I can understand if others
feeling awkward in the situation.
Yeah, well, you can do it if you want, as opposed to, well, yes, I want to do that, or yeah, let's do it.
That's really interesting because that's been manipulation.
Yeah, and that's that coercion side of things.
And trying to pressure people. And some people are really good at putting people into situations where they feel like it's their own thing.
Yeah, like you hear it quite a lot with, especially young couples and married couples as well, is that I feel obligated to sleep with this person because I'm their wife, or I'm their husband, or when it's one of your first relationships coming up as a teenager, you feel as though you need to have sex because
some people feel that they owe you sex.
Exactly. Like, and some guys, and I've heard this before as well, will take a girl out for a dinner date, proper date, and then, oh, but I just bought you dinner. Why won't you?
Congratulations, you went on the most unoriginal fucking date ever. Now I'm getting your head. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
It's a bullshit sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
And that's, we were talking beforehand about, catching kids when you're kids.
Yeah,
and
man.
That's that thing.
This is
we're fucking socially conditioned from an incredibly young age to make it into some game where the manliest man wins the girl and he can get her no matter what. And it doesn't matter if she
doesn't want it.
Catching kids, she was fucking running away, bro.
Well, there's no more obvious sign than a girl running away from you.
Stop that.
If they wanted to kiss you, they'd run to you while you're running after them.
Yeah, that would be an effective game.
Yeah. And that...
It's entitlement, I think. It's a gross danger to consent. People feel like they're owed something, or they can take something, perhaps because of the social standing. Perhaps they're incredibly good looking or really rich, and they feel like they can then take whatever they want.
Yeah.
That they deserve it.
Yeah. And that's fucking terrifying.
No one deserves anybody else's dignity.
No.
And that's what it comes down to. Like, you can't just take someone else's dignity. to gratify your own sexual ego.
Yeah.
How fucking important is that, right?
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. So going into this as well, it's very much also about that initial sort of conversation when you meet somebody as well. Like we said, a girl smiles and laughs at you from across the bar or something like that, gives you a wink or whatever. A question that I did this wrong for a long time, and the question I have is, what do you think is the best way to approach another person without seeming creepy or menacing or predatory? I guess. Because I think a lot of guys don't realise that when they go and hit on a girl, especially when they're drunk, that it's fucking a terrifying experience for this girl. So I believe there are true ways of not seeming menacing. The way that I personally do it is I give them an out. I'll say, hey, you might have a boyfriend, but I'd really like to take your number. That gives them an out straight away. They go, okay, I do have a boyfriend, sorry. And I think that's, for me, not a menacing way.
Yeah,
not overly creepy. Exactly. And it gives them the choice of what they want to do. Because they can lie. They might not have a boyfriend. But it gives them an option to say that. What are your thoughts around that sort of approach?
Well, my own personal experience would be useless because I would never approach anyone in the bar. That's too much of a chicken shit. And typically, I would rely on the girl to make it so fucking painfully obvious that they were into me before I did anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how I'm with my girlfriend currently,
Mm-hmm.
She was very much the one in charge. But I think once again it comes down to being able to recognize social cues. When you're approaching someone, it's quite easy to tell if they're really not comfortable onto it. And I think my main piece of advice there would be don't fucking approach someone if you're shit-faced drunk.
Yeah, just don't.
A, you're going to look like a fucking idiot anyways, and you've already ruined it. B, if you need that for courage, you probably shouldn't be doing that in the first place.
Agreed.
And C, it's going to come off even more intimidating.
Yeah. You can't read social cues if you're drunk.
It's like driving, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't drive while drunk because your response reaction is slow.
Yep.
You're not going to judge everything as well as you should.
Exactly.
We all do stupid fucking things when we're drunk, right?
Yeah.
So
of course
maybe you don't kind of approach a stranger unless you approach them.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty simple. Some people may think that that's going to be on the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for me to say because I'm not single.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really about reading social cues, like in terms of not being menacing, and like you said, like providing a different option, kind of makes it easier for them.
Yeah.
Because you really want to make them comfortable.
And the key part of this as well that I wanted to bring into it is, say if I ask that question, like I said, you may have a boyfriend, but I'd really like to have a boyfriend. If they say no, I've got a boyfriend, or they say no to you, fucking stop at that point.
Yeah.
Don't keep going. I read a thing on social media the other day. It was a mother talking to her son, and son came up to her and went, I asked this girl out today, and she's really pretty. I really like her. Everything's really cool. I asked her out today, and she said no. And the mother said to the son, so what do you do now? And he goes, I just keep trying and trying until I get it. And the mother goes, no, you stop. You stop right there. And you don't go any further because she has made her decision. If she wants to change her mind from that point, she knows you're interested. If she wants to change her mind, then that's up to her. You leave that at that point.
Sorry, where did you hear this?
It was on social media.
Yeah. I hope this is like an actual conversation that someone exits.
Yeah, I'm hoping so as well. It was just one of those. I think it was on Facebook, but it was one of those Tumblr posts that you see. And I'm really hoping it's a true thing because that's a great conversation to have. That's how we can introduce that teaching boys not to do things, not to sexual assault.
And that's the solution.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The solution isn't telling girls not to do this, not to do that. The solution is to educate people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Boys and girls alike, but mostly boys in New Zealand. It's about educating them.
Yeah.
What is and isn't okay from a very young age.
The other thing that I wanted to add in here as well is it's not just boys or men with women as well.
Oh yeah.
It happens a lot in gay relationships, especially. There's been a lot of that that's come through recently as well. So, we're speaking mainly around men and women because that's our experience in the last wee while. But I need to make it clear that it's not just men and women, and it can be women sexually abusing men as well.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk more around statutory rape with teachers and students and things like that recently, especially in America and stuff like that. Not so much here, but it's not. Yeah, I can't ram that home enough that it's not just men raping women. It's men raping men, women raping.
Especially when you're thinking about manipulation.
Yeah.
And coerced consent and stuff like that.
Absolutely. We'll change a little bit of tack here, because it's something that I'm quite interested in. I didn't grow up in New Zealand, I grew up in Australia, and I think the two are pretty close together when it comes to this sort of thing. Australia is a wee bit iffy politically at the moment, so they could be anywhere on this. But in your opinion, I know you're not an expert on this, but the state of sexual education in New Zealand at the moment, what do you think the state of sex ed in New Zealand is at the moment? Do you know much about it?
Yeah, this is really interesting because I've had this conversation with a few people, and it shocked me how different sex ed was for me compared to other people.
Okay.
I look back on sex ed for me at high school, and I went to a boys' college, like a pretty old-fashioned rugby is all we care about at high school.
Right.
And the one thing that I really took away from that I had heard from other people that they didn't learn at sex ed was how to prepare a woman with foreplay. Prepare is probably a terrible word, but how to engage a woman correctly. So when you are having sex, it is most comfortable for them.
Right.
So they taught us, like how the vagina opens up and the more foreplay you have, and so they were like, don't ever just shove your penis in there. And they also taught us where the clitoris is and different ways that you can pleasure a woman. I thought this was normal when I was a kid.
Yeah,
it wasn't until I talked with other
that's
people
actually quite out of it.
that they were like, oh, what the hell? They taught you that at high school? And I was like, yeah, it was a boys' school. I think we just struck out with a really good sex ed teacher.
Well, I think partly that, and I think there's something to be said about that being at an all-boys school rather than having to, because I think it would be difficult to have that sort of conversation in a co-ed school, apart from splitting the class in half.
But the conversation we didn't have though is that we never talked about consent.
Yeah.
And people have said to me, like, you can't go and just talk about this and accuse kids of not knowing what consent is. They're not idiots. And it's like, well, are they going to talk about it?
Yeah.
Maybe they are now, but they definitely weren't.
I still don't think they are now.
And I mean,
and not to an acceptable level.
It was 15 years since I went to high school, so I mean, things could have changed. But as far as I'm aware, it's only people that are going into schools as groups of workshops and whatnot.
Kind of like what you're trying to start.
And they're the only people that are really talking about
really.
this issue. Because it is quite
it's a difficult conversation to have with teenagers, with young teenagers. But it is one that needs to be had. And it's kind of interesting that they've taught you how to prepare, for lack of a better term, prepare a woman for sex, but not the engaging with them prior.
With communication.
Yeah. So that sort of leads itself to, I can just go up to a girl and if I do this, they're going to have fun. And that's kind of terrifying as well, I think. So, yeah, I do think it has changed since then, but I still don't think there's enough on the consent side of things. Because the way that I grew up was your standard, these are your STIs, this is what you can happen if you're going to have sex, this is how you put a condom on, blah, 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 blah. There was not anything about consent when I was
People
growing up.
with ginger hair have ginger pubes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cheers,
Valid
bud.
information, guys.
Exactly.
Cheers for that one. Carpet smashing jokes. Great.
And yeah, so that's the part that I really want to change that side of it, because like we've said multiple times in this already, we've got to teach these kids.
Education is the only solution.
Yeah.
In nearly every social problem, we often find that there are troops of people going around with band-aid solutions.
Yeah.
Admittedly, what I did with the lunchbox was a band-aid solution, but we were working our way towards a solution that involved education, because that's where you make true generational difference.
Yeah.
If you're just kind of trying to fix the problem after it's happened, nothing's really going to change.
Yeah.
But if you get in there from a fundamental point of view, and I hate to quote the Bible, I'm not a religious person, but Psalms 22. Teach a man whilst he is young, and it will be the Lord he follows for the remainder of his life.
Exactly.
And don't ask me why, I can just repeat Bible verses like that. It's really
Word of God.
and the thing is that that's fucking true. Like, we
absolutely.
have to teach young people what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And more people are going to fall in line with these behaviours.
I think the other part of this as well is that we need to realise it's not going to happen now.
No, it's a generation.
It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not even going to be a single generation thing, I don't think.
No.
It's because you're still going to have your, I don't want to be stereotypical, but your mid-Canterbury farmer who's, still all about rugby and going down to Parliament. Yeah, it is. So it's going to take a few probably, I would say easily 200 years before it's...
Yeah, I guess, though, it's one of those things where it's a social issue that doesn't really fall on the left or right side of the political spectrum, which leads in our favour, right? Because as soon as a social issue is on the left, which 90% of them tend to fall, then all of a sudden you have the conservative backlash.
Yeah.
And will be all right or whatever. So, and I guess a lot of people who probably talk to from the LGBT community
lean to the left,
and they face a lot of backlash. Yeah. Right. But when we're just talking about consent and making sure people are okay, I think a lot of people from either side are going to look at that and go, well, I want my daughter to be treated with respect.
Yeah.
I don't want her to be indecently assaulted. So I think a lot more people are going to take it on quicker than other things like child poverty or homelessness or fixing over-the-top plastic usage.
It's very difficult for somebody to say... it's easy for somebody to look at a homeless person and go, okay, he's made wrong decisions, that's his fault, whatever. It's much more difficult for somebody of the same stature, same nature, to sit there and go, oh, that person's made these choices, she deserves to be raped. It's very, very difficult to say that to somebody without a huge... Yeah, there is. But there's more than likely going to be a huge, huge backlash around that. If you think of right-wing politicians, a lot of them will say that about the homeless and go, they made wrong choices. That's shit happens. And they don't face a huge backlash from it. They'll get a little bit from the left side, and that's about it.
Half of that's just pandering to the right, though, right?
Exactly. But if that same politician came out and said that girl deserved to be raped, imagine that. Imagine the backlash from that. And like I said, that's why it's sort of in our favour to make these changes and to get in and educate people about this sort of thing. Because that's the other part, is I don't just want to do schools. I want to go into large corporations as well and talk about their culture around that. Because we've heard a fair bit recently. I know in America, especially with politicians and stuff, there's been a whole bunch of sexual indecency, power manipulation. Even the guy who gave Rosa Parks her first job when she moved up to Detroit from the south because she'd gotten chased out of Alabama. He, over the last 10 years, was found out to be sexually indecent to women as well, and that's heartbreaking as well, knowing because he was the first black congressman.
Yeah, wow.
I can't remember his name for the life of me now.
I don't think it's worth remembering.
No, but it's kind of crazy. This magnificent sort of, well, I won't say magnificent now, but this great person at that time has now come through and fallen so hard because of that.
It's often the people that you don't expect, right? Like they're out there
I mean, except for old mate Donald. We expect that.
Oh, you wouldn't say that. Now we're pissing off the right thing.
I have no issue with that. I don't think there's too many white folk that listen to this either, to be fair. But yeah, so like I said, I want to get into talk to adults around what they're doing as well in their larger corporations and things like that, because there's a lot of things going wrong there as well. I think we had, even in New Zealand, we had a law firm that was doing similar sort of things. I'd like to get into those places and talk to those people about consent and how they speak to their peers and colleagues and change it from that level as well. Exactly. So you can do it from the grassroots up with the kids.
How they can speak to the kids.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's a fantastic one. I hadn't actually thought of that, but that's a fantastic point. So you can do it with the kids, and that's great. But if you can get the parents on board to do the same thing at home, like you just said, that's fantastic. And even how they treat their peers and things like that to stop things happening in the workplace and using that power manipulation through that as well. So many things that I think can be done.
And one of the things about teaching kids is typically the kids teach the adults.
Yeah.
They'll go home and talk about it at school and they'll pass that on. And if the adults are learning that as well, we've had this whole cycle of reaffirmation about what each other are learning, and that's kind of the correct way to conduct oneself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. So one of the other things I want to talk about is I wanted to speak to you about, we've spoken a little bit about education and that sort of thing as well. But what can we do to change thoughts and actions around this as well? So, for example, my big one, and it'll be yours now as well from the inaction side of things, is when you hear, your mate down the way in the office, goes, fuck this great drunk slut on the weekend, or, that sort of locker room talk as it will be said. Fucking speak up and say, dude, that's fucked. You can't sit there and go, she was drunk, I wasn't. It was all hunky dory. Like, that's actually kind of scary in and of itself. So, if we go to ground roots, what can we do on a personal level, as a human being, as a New Zealander, as an American, as a human, to help change this?
It's just calling people out, man.
Yeah.
And
that's what you've learned recently, right?
Yeah, it is so hard to call someone out.
Yeah.
And to call them out correctly. Like, if there's someone you value and their attitude is teetering on the line, then you definitely want to be able to call them out respectfully, but honestly, in a way that they're going to listen to you and hopefully take that on board. If they've gone well beyond that, you probably want to call them out in a very verbally forceful manner. You definitely want to be assertive and that that's okay and you're not going to associate with them. But I kind of think about, there was that TV ad, and I don't watch TV, but I saw it shared on the internet. The dude drops a pie. Oh, that's gay. He's like, it's not gay unless it's gay.
Oh, yeah, no, I heard these ones on the radio.
Okay, so here's like a little tale. I told you at the start about how I lived at living drug and alcohol rehab center, and then I just kind of, these dudes have done some fucked up things, right, in their lives. It was always a policy of mine to not ask them what they had done. If they wished to tell me, that was cool.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
Have that confidential conversation with them. So obviously I'm not going to share anything here.
Yeah.
But some of these dudes, man, they're fucking tank and intimidating. Like tattoos all over. I mean,
you've got tattoos all over.
I got tattoos all over my hand. I'm a skinny white dude, I'm not intimidating. And they're like pretty intimidating people.
Yeah.
And it even cuts through to them, where these are guys who you would expect to be calling people gay or faggots just for no reason, like they're not actually homosexuals and just be derogatory. But I started hearing it in that house environment where someone would say that and I'd go, hey man, it's only gay if it's gay.
Yeah, that's all.
And it became a cool little slogan for them, right? Like they actually felt cool saying it. Maybe because they're looking something off TV. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because they had learned something.
Yeah.
They were kind of better in themselves. But the core thing is that having something so simple like that actually has had a transformative change, and it's made it easier for people to call people out now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, like before, if someone said, "Oh, that's gay, bro," you'd probably look at them and go, "Why'd you say that?" You wouldn't really call them out, and you didn't know how to call them out.
No.
But now, if someone goes, "Oh, that's gay, bro," you go, "Well, it's not actually gay.
Yeah.
It's not gay unless it's gay."
No, it's
right?
gay. Yeah.
And then they go, "Oh, well, yeah, okay," you know. And so having a slogan, like a means to make it easier for people to approach their peers or their friends, or fuck man, the creepy uncles, you know, people in the family, providing them an easier opportunity and a way to deal with that is really important. Like as soon as someone's got something that they just know, you know, like I've got this idea, it's you know, like going and teaching young men about all this kind of stuff. And a big thing that I want to focus on is how you call out your kids.
For sure.
Behaviors.
For sure.
And kind of catching it and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you can come up with a cool slogan, haven't yet, I'll get together with a bunch of people. Oh, you've got one.
I've got one. I saw this the other day, and it was shared on the podcast Facebook page. And it's a guy wearing a t-shirt, and it just says consent. Get some before you get some.
Nice. Yeah.
It's not bad, eh?
Well, there you go.
Yeah, and just for those listening, I was scrolling through my phone,
Like,
horrifically trying to find it at this point while Ben was talking then.
And
So,
that's it, man. Like, as soon as you got something, right? Like,
yeah, get some before you get some.
Yeah. And
I think that's
and it's just
fantastic.
about fucking, like, this whole thing, right? It's communication.
Yeah.
Non-verbal and verbal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just finding the best way to call people out. And, like, something like that is absolutely fantastic. If a bunch of really super tough, intimidating crims, ex-crims, like in a rehab center, can do it, I don't see why.
Average Joe on the street can do it.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, there's your
Absolutely.
fucking measuring stick.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't mean to belittle them in any way.
No, of course not.
They're actually working harder than most people I know to better their lives.
Exactly.
And they've gone through intense.
That's why they're in that sort of center. It's to better themselves.
But they're the people that society would often look down their nose at.
Yeah.
You know, and if you want to look down your nose at those people, maybe you should fucking check yourself and realize that you too need to develop a better personal awareness of what's happening around you and how to confront that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other ad that I remember, we had the radio at work, so I hear a lot, and it was saying it's not going like the game, it was around a wedding. And it was like, oh, how was that wedding on the weekend? Oh, I heard you went to a wedding on the weekend, how was it? Oh, it was really gay. You're like, I'm not sure you're supposed to say that anymore. You're like, no, it was David and Tony, it was really gay. You're like, oh, I love those guys. Yeah, it was great.
Cool.
It's not gay unless it's gay.
Yeah, a positive way to take it, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I found that advert really quite funny as well. I was like, that's clever, I like that. Because that's another one of my big things as well is through the LGBTQ, et cetera, stuff, which I think is really important as well because there's still a lot of discrimination there. I was reading the other day, there's actually, there's women and lesbians that are actively against femme trans people, purely because they haven't gone through the same struggles that women have. And you sort of sit there and you go like, really? And without being too, I don't want to go too far into it, but a lot of it's the lesbian community and the feminist community. And you sit there and go, I'm not going to say it's definitely all of them because that's bullshit. It's that minority, very much the minority side of it that's sitting there going, what the hell? We can't be dealing with this sort of going on. It's sort of like you sit there and you try and dissect how it makes sense, and it does in that sense only. Is that they didn't have, but they had different struggles of identity during that point, as opposed to puberty and being groped on and stuff like that. They were in a different person's body growing up.
I guess all that kind of stuff, like I'm definitely out of the loop. So I definitely like to kind of read up because I hate to make misinformed statements
Yeah,
or
sure.
like say the wrong word without kind of understanding what's really going on. But that's really interesting to hear.
I just find it really good. And even bisexuals is another one that sort of get a bit of crap because they're not completely gay, they're not completely straight. So straight people are like, oh, you're gay, and then
completely gay or completely straight even me.
right. And then you get the gay people that go, oh, you're not gay enough for us, or you're not straight enough for us on the other side. And you're just like, oh,
it's a shame. It should be a community, right?
yeah, exactly.
Community. I think there's two things that enrich people's lives really fucking greatly, and that people don't thoroughly understand yet, and that's having your own personal purpose and letting that dictate your life.
Yep.
And a lot of people live without purpose, which I think is why they suffer a lot of depression. And the second is community. Not having a sense of any kind of community is crippling, and also leads to a lot of mental health issues. And to hear of communities kind of fracturing,
infighting, it's not nice, but it is quite common in many different ways. And then you can see it. Again, I hate to use this example, but Australian politics at the moment with the Liberal Party and the sort of all over the show at the minute with leadership challenges left, right, and centre. I think it was like something like 10 prime ministers in the last 12 years, something ridiculous like that. It's phenomenal, that sort of stat, and people, and that sort of comes from slightly differing views within a community and branching off into smaller communities.
Yeah.
Then those smaller communities butting heads and
see that metal come from like a metal musician coming back. And now you've got like so many subgenres and sub-subgenres of metal, and the community's so much. It's not negatively fractured in terms of people dislike each other or butt heads with each other, but back 15 years ago, playing shows, you would have every metalhead in town turn up to a metal show, and now you have people going, oh well, actually that's Swedish black and thrash metal, and I actually only listen to Venezuelan grindcore. And so you have people going to these very specific subjects.
So and that's another good example, I think, or good anecdote for what we were talking about. And one more thing that I wanted to talk about is, and I seem to remember you doing this, but I can't quite remember, was like the male version of the Me Too sort of movement, where you came, I know I was part of it, where it came out and said, I've done these things. I'm pretty sure that you were a part of that as well a few years ago.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't think it was in regards to sexual abuse, but it was in regards to unhealthy relationships. I was in a very toxic relationship. And I don't wish to talk about that person or to bring them into it, but it was the toxic behavior from one side pushed the other, which pushed the other, and I'm very ashamed of how I acted in that relationship, and I thought I will never ever be a good boyfriend after going through that. And I was very public about it because, man, fucking all the mistakes, right?
And that's an important thing, is owning your shit. I'll always say that. If you fuck up, put your hands up. And you'll get more respect for it. You'll get more respect for it.
Well, you don't learn if you don't fuck up.
No, exactly.
I thought I'd never be a good boyfriend again, and then my relationship after that was actually really fruity and good and healthy. And I was like, oh, maybe I actually took a lot away from that really, really negative experience. And my relationship now is fantastic. Like, literally, it's a fucking walk in the park. Like, just zero issues all the time because we respect each other. And you'll be communicating about your shit as well. And we know how to discuss things. And like nothing's even gotten to the point of a wild disagreement, like, just because I think the mistakes have been made previously. And I was able to acknowledge my error in that part. Because it's really easy to go, I was in this really toxic relationship, she was a fucking bitch, and put all of it
on them.
And like, this person did some horrible things. Yes. But I didn't deal with those things right. And I needed to learn that that was my mistake. And if I didn't own that, then I couldn't move forward. So it's really lucky to have just kind of naturally worked through that. I think.
And you learn a lot about yourself when you look inwards as well and go, cool, I push all of this shit on this other person, but nothing's ever just one person or one thing. There's always another side, and I look inwards a lot to try and better myself. It's only been the last sort of few months that I've started actually thinking about the way that I'm complimenting women, even instead of going, oh, you're a beautiful woman. It's more, hey, those boots are awesome, or your hair looks sweet, or your makeup looks great. Stuff that they physically they do themselves, that they have control over, rather than just going,
Yeah, am I complimenting you from my mind or from the end of my day?
Exactly, and that's something that I've sort of changed a little bit recently as well, which is really and that's come from looking in at myself and going, actually, what am I doing here?
Yeah, and that'll continue to happen.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
Because we're not perfect.
No, if
that's the last thing I want people to think. Like,
yeah,
we're just two motherfuckers who are awesome.
No, shit, no.
Shit,
no, man. I've got so many faults, it's not funny.
And it's just being self-aware.
Yeah.
But also listening to people. Like, when people tell you things, don't call them a fucking hater.
and
actually just grow from it.
Yeah, a big point of that is don't listen to respond.
Yeah.
Because that's a human flaw in 99.9% of the population, I would say.
Listening
is that we listen to respond.
Amazing things.
Yeah. And you actually hear someone and you're tuning into what they have to say and not just setting yourself up for how you're going to answer back to them.
I tell you what, actually, fucking totally off comment anecdote.
Yeah.
During the last election, I'm usually very vocal come election time. I was pretty vocal, but not for a particular party, but just for about engagement of getting people to vote. I did a party, this thing called Party back in
Yes, I remember this.
Just another social cool fun thing that I got into, and what I did this election was, because I was so vocal about election know-how and how the process of voting and NMP and how that works, and talking about things that I had in the news, I had a lot of people talking to me in private messages and conversations about who they were going to vote for, why they were going to vote for that person.
Yeah,
and I not once went, oh, that's interesting, this is who I'm voting for, and why. I would go, oh, that's really interesting that you're voting for this person. Is there any of their policies in particular that fit with you?
Yeah.
Like, why are you
so you're learning more about them rather than going, this is about me.
And I never once told anyone who I was directly going to vote for. But I learned so much about people's perspectives.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about which party they were going to vote for and why, but it was about how they lived their life and what they prioritized.
And even their thought processes.
Yeah, and it was a really interesting thing. I came out of the election and man, I feel like I understand so many of my peers so much better.
Yeah.
Because I just shut the fuck up and let them talk and just ask open-ended questions. And I didn't even, it wasn't like, oh, so you're going to vote for Top, but isn't Gareth Moore a cock? It was like, oh, interesting, you're voting for Top. Like, what are the top 3 policies in your mind? Like, do you envisage them as being a party that's going to stick around for the next 5 years? And it was just insane, like, how much you can actually take away from people by just letting them go for.
Yeah. And just, they'll talk for half an hour, but if you're still listening there and you're engaged in what they're actually saying. And I think that's an important point, is engaged in what they're saying as well. Because there's a difference between hearing and listening.
Yeah. And just asking the right questions.
Yeah.
And I think that comes around a lot with people with mental health issues. When you're discussing things with them. I find myself in that position a lot. Like, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I have 3 different messages from people who are struggling mentally. And I think maybe I just put myself out there as a person that would be good to talk to.
Yeah. Which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
By any stretch.
And it's good that a lot of the time I kind of just ask questions, which is a hard thing to learn because I'm a solution action-minded person.
Yeah. Same.
But in that case, a lot of people don't want solutions, they want to talk.
Yeah, they just want to be heard.
Yeah, you just ask some questions, and I'll kind of talk through their stuff, and often they'll find their own solutions.
Yeah.
Because in a way,
absolutely.
Kind of coaching them to just, well, you're really doing nothing in a way, but you're just kind of asking the right questions to make them.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the time that's all that's needed is they need to get whatever's weighing them down off them, right? And that can tie back into people coming out with the fact that they've been abused. Like this whole conversation we've had tonight is if somebody comes to you, and I've had it for myself as well, somebody's come to me, somebody comes to you, somebody comes to whoever is out there, if somebody comes to you and says, this happened to me, fucking talk to them, listen to them, hear what they have to say,
100%.
let them go through what they need to go through, just be there for them, because they're going through a fucking tough time, and they're,
Ask what you think to help.
yeah, exactly, and a lot of the time they're not going to know how you can help. That there's a lot of that when you're talking mental health as well. Is how can I help? I don't know, but just keep talking to them.
Listening.
And
The act of being there is incredibly powerful.
exactly. And I've had work at 3:30 in the morning. I quite often start work at 3:30 in the morning at London. But I'll be talking to somebody at midnight, 1 o'clock, just to make sure that they're being heard and they know that they're being heard. They know they're being listened to by somebody who cares. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, I just want to sleep. But I'm still actively taking in what they're saying. And then responding in a way that's about them. Not, this is what I did in that situation. Because 90% of the time it's not going to match their situation. And the same with sexual abuse again. Listen to what they have to say. If at the end they ask, what's your opinion? What do you think I should do? That's when you can potentially go, this is my opinion. But that's not going to happen for a long time, usually, in those sorts of discussions. It's pouring out of emotion, of all of this, in inverted baggage. Right?
From my experience in that situation a lot of the time is those people just want to know that you're here for them.
Exactly.
When they make their decisions, whatever those decisions are, they do support them 100%.
Yeah.
And for my friends that are in that position, they know I'm often dealing and they know that whatever they want to do or not do, or how they feel, like all that kind of stuff, that's up to them to take that control.
Yeah.
And myself and other friends that support them, we all know that. And I'm just there to make sure that they're okay.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
For sure. It's been a chat and a half, hasn't it? Yeah. That sort of brings us to the end of my questions. Anyway, was there anything that you'd want to add to all of this? It's been pretty full on. It's been pretty heavy. I do kind of want to end on a high note if we can.
Yeah.
I'm just I think the high note out of this is that people are learning and there are people having these discussions. Yeah, exactly. So, moving forward, you focus on that, and you hope that even if there's just one person listening to this, and they message the A-Slut podcast Facebook page and go, hey, I listened to this episode, this happened to me. If there's one person that talks to somebody else, and have the discussion around these sorts of things, I feel fulfilled at that point because I've helped one person with what they're doing. So if we can continue to have these conversations, not just us, not just, the sexual therapists of the world, not just the police, not just the victims, but everyone able to have these sorts of communications, I think then the world's going to be a better place. I don't think there's really much doubt about that. And then we can, and it'll come with a positive outcome at the end of it. So that's what we can take out of this chat. Like I said, it's been full on, but it's one where I've learned a fair bit. I think potentially both of us have learned something out of this as well. And again, having this chat's been really, really cool and really, really awesome. And hopefully, so you're starting up basically a group now, aren't you?
A collective. We can probably team up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're still getting it together. And the point is that we're just going to be going into schools to basically just teach about healthy relationships, teach about consent and communication, and talk about how people can better manage themselves and how to discuss with their peers behaviors that aren't okay.
Yeah.
Because I guess I don't know, when I do talks and stuff, like conference talks, I usually try to end with 5 takeaways. This whole thing's been incredibly on the fly, so I don't usually have anything with you. But I'll probably go, takeaway number 1 is, for any victims out there, if you feel like talking, please, send a message to Simon. I'm also available on Facebook, Ben Diggy. If you ever need to chat about anything, that's cool. You can keep it as confidential, whatever is possible. That's really sweet. Takeaway 2, and probably one of the most important ones I want to say is, doing the right thing is never easy, but calling people out for inappropriate actions is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to like you for it. It could damage your reputation or how people view you, but at the end of the day, what really matters is you doing the right thing, and you're going to be proud of yourself for that, and that's all that fucking matters, right? As long as you love yourself and you do the right thing, live true to your values and your integrity, and be honest with yourself. And I guess lastly, just make sure that you're communicating with people, with everybody, with your peers, with your family, with people that you are wishing to engage in some kind of sexual romantic relationship with your current partners. Don't take them for granted. Communicate all the time. So that's not 5, that's 3. That's pretty good.
I think I can almost get up to 5.
Nice.
The 4th one that I'll put in is basically our new catch cry. Consent. Get some before you get some. Right? So that's the other one that I would put in.
You should end every podcast.
Yeah. Get some before you get some. There was another one, but it's skipped my mind again now. I got too excited. Yeah, 4/5. Right. That. Yeah. In addition to that, have those conversations.
Super.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks.
It's been amazing. It's been a great chat. I love what you do. I've talked to you a few times about Fill the Lunchbox, which was a fantastic thing. You're now doing a similar thing. That's not your own enterprise, but that's really cool as well. What was the name of that? Just so people
Eat My Lunch.
Eat My Lunch. So still buy one lunch,
get one.
provides one.
Yeah,
buy one, get one.
it's the same concept, really.
Cool. So yeah, if you're in New Zealand, look that up. It's a really, really cool thing to help those that might not be as privileged and are going to school hungry. It's a really cool way to help that out. So check that out as well. And yeah, it's been awesome talking, man.
Okay.
I'm sitting in the club. I feel it's not hot enough until you walk in, it's like, oh my god. Then again, I don't believe in God, I believe in you, and that's the truth. I wanna get close to you and get all up inside your space.
Whoa there, what are you doing? You don't even know this woman. She's a fine young thing. She don't need grooming. She's a human being. She's got a brain and remembers everything you say, which reminds me, hi, sorry to talk about you. Anyway, Jack, we got things to do. Women? No, that's what I'm trying to say. Let's let this out to the right extent. This guy wants you, but only with your consent. Only with your consent. Only with your consent. Only with your consent. If you've got the time to make those kind of moves, then make it right. What have you got to lose?
Let's lay things down, clear and stable. This ain't no game, this ain't no fable.
This is a story about two individuals. Communications grew, there became a sort of ritual. One of them decided to change their mind.
And just to clarify, that's completely fine.
Cause no means no.
Yes, no.
Yes, no.
Yes, I get it now. It works
only with your consent. Only with your consent. Only with your consent. Only with your consent.
Working in a pool of sweat, a cautionary tale that I won't forget. It's blown my mind, this moral's tight.
Now's the time to set things right. Turn a new page from the sexist rage.
It just shouldn't happen in this day and age.
So next time I see a girl, I'll be true.
And if I'm feeling brave, I might try a guy too.
What?
Never mind. I feel like I've learned something.
Oh yeah? Well, do you want to apply what you've learned?
Not really. Not tonight. Can't be bothered.
What do you want to do then?
Just want to have some fun. I got us a guitar solo.
Oh, how much?
£12.
Only with your consent. Only with your consent. Only with your consent.
This guy wants you, but
Only with your consent. Only with your consent. Only with your consent. Only with your consent. Only with your consent.
Hello groovy people of the internet, my name's Jack Howard.
And I'm Dean Dobbs.
I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, you can buy the song on iTunes, the link's in the description.
And we'd like to say a big old thank you to everybody who made this video possible. They're all credited in the description down below. In fact, if you want to see any more of our crazy adventures, then
Filmed more than once.
Yeah, they're filmed more than once. If you can just go click the subscribe button if you want to.
Yeah, it's a wicked button.
It's really
the
good.
The best button I've ever seen.
Yeah, honestly, like I've read an article that says it's like one of the best.
It's even better than this button I've got here.
Better than that one.
And that's Dean's favourite button.
Yeah, that is mine.
But
Can I have it back?
No, not yet. We can talk about this later. Go buy the song on iTunes.